Welcome back to the Trainwell podcast, inspiring you to move more, get stronger, and have fun. And today we're back with another myth-busting episode. And our myth today is, drum roll please, Joey.
You should stretch before lifting weights. And I will say, I just want to play devil's advocate here. I would say that this is not a myth, and I will give my reasoning shortly, but let me just tell the listener that I believe you should stretch. Everybody should stretch before lifting weights, and I'll get to my points. Darian, what stance are you taking on this?
Well, I'm just going to take whatever stance you take because I trust your opinion on this. But I will say, like, the common reason historically that people think they shouldn't stretch before lifting weights is because it stretches out and elongates the muscle, and then the muscle can't contract fully when you're lifting weights. Like that is like the common thinking around that. Correct.
The common thing is that we know that static stretching reduces muscular tone, tonicity of a muscle. And muscle tone is not what people think. Like, people think I can increase tone, that means I'm going to look like the magazine model. But no, muscle tone is like whether it's like a light switch, how high it is and how low it is. And what I mean by it is like you can have, like, a lot of people have tight calves, right? They think the muscle is structurally tight, but in reality it's just high tone. The nervous system is sensing that there's a lot of input and sensory information going into that calf. And so it reads it as quote unquote tight. And a lot of people think they need a stretch to fix it. But I'm going off on a tangent. The common thought is that we know that with this relaxed muscle from static stretching, it can decrease power output, which is true. It is true. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with that. If you're doing, if you're a powerlifter, I always use powerlifting as an example, but if you are back squatting and chasing a true 1 rep max, if you're an Olympic lifter, yes, you should not do a set of, let's say, hip flexor stretches between sets of squats, right? Everyone kind of knows that. However, I will say that for the majority of people, 90% of people, that we're not chasing gold medals, and people have muscle imbalances. Now, what is a muscle imbalance? Dee, I'll let you jump in with what a muscle imbalance is.
Well, first, I also wonder, should we define stretching really quick? Because there's different types of stretches. So what are you specifically referring to? We're kind of referring to static stretching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Static stretching.
Holding a long lunge, for example, like with the back knee on the ground, and we're just kind of holding there. That's what you're referring to when you're talking about a hip flexor stretch, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just let's all get on the same page, let's align our expectations.
Yeah, let's start with so I'll define static stretching. Like what we just did is like you hold the position, like let's say the typical hamstring stretch, right? You put your foot up on a bench and you just lean and you hang out. That's what a static stretch is. Then there's also a fancy word, PNF, or an acronym, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, where basically you do a stretch, any stretch, and then you actually get that muscle you're trying to stretch to actually contract a little bit for about 6 seconds is the average protocol, and then you relax and you go deeper into it. That's PNF. Or you can have someone do it to you. Or there's actually ballistic stretching where you move in and out of the in range of motion. We have an exercise called froggies, basically like a deep squat, and you kind of go in and out. And then there's active isolated stretching. There's all kinds of stretching. Anyways, what we're going to talk about today is static stretching, right? And what I will say, back to my muscle imbalance thing, is that the most common muscle imbalances I see, and I think every human has, is you have a tight pec, right? Tight pecs, your chest muscles, your shoulders round and forward. And we talked about this on the corrective exercise episode. And people have tight hip flexors, right? And people have tight calves. And you can afford to let those things get a little loosey-goosey and reduce the tone in between sets. Now, if you are overly psychotic and you want to really chase your true strength, let's just take the calves, for example, right? if you're doing a set that involves the calves directly, like let's say even just a Bulgarian split squat where your calves are working to stabilize your front leg, or you're doing a, I don't know, max set of calf raises or something like that, there is argument, yes, you should not stretch those calves out before. But again, you're not going for a gold medal, so it'd be worth it to spend some time in the bottom position of a calf stretch to, again, reduce tone, allow a little bit of ankle range of motion back so that you can train more effectively down the road. Okay, now I'm talking a lot, Darian, so I'll pause there and go ahead.
I have a question.
Hit me.
So you're advocating in this scenario for stretching is okay to do before workout. It because we're not like elite athletes, we're gym goers, we're just regular people over here. It's fine. And we might have some muscle tightness and imbalance that could use a stretch. Now, my question is.
Well, can I pause here?
Okay. I didn't.
Even if you're an elite athlete, like if I've gone to the track and field world championships, okay? And when you go there, Eugene, Oregon, when you go there, you will see elite sprinters, even Noah Lyles, even before, like as they're warming up, they are still static stretching. They will just do it out of habit because it's what they know. It makes them feel good. And he'll still go win a gold medal. So that's my.
Okay. Well, I guess my question is this. Is there another way to achieve this exact same result that's not static stretching? Like, for example, if I didn't want to just static stretch my calves, I could do like a walking B stance Romanian deadlift or like body weight good morning type position, which is me just like putting one foot in front of the other, bending forward. I get a nice hamstring and calf stretch. Like these other types of stretching you were mentioning. If I can get the same result with that, why wouldn't I just do that?
Yeah, you totally can. But this is where foam roll comes in because we know that, or self-myofascial release, we know that you can foam roll the calves and that'll allow back movement and it'll relax the muscle for motor performance or neural activation or firing, as people like to say. So yes, you definitely can find other modalities.
But the point you're making is it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Not a huge difference. If you
static stretch
no.
before you're working out.
No.
So all that to say, if you enjoy static stretching, go ahead and do it before you work out, but not to excess probably. And I did want to just say one quick thing about muscular imbalance while we're here. And I'm going to take us on a new road now, a little bit of a new path. How much do people care about muscular imbalance? Like to some extent, you're always going to have asymmetry. You're always going to be in quote unquote imbalanced from one side of your body to the next. And that's just all about lifestyle, right? Like if you have little kids, you probably are holding your kid more on one side than the other, and that's going to create some imbalances. You probably just notice whenever you're naturally stronger, if you're doing a single arm press, one arm's able to lift that weight easier than the other arm. When muscular imbalance becomes a problem is when it's causing pain or discomfort or creating a limitation for you and your ability to do things, right? So like also, even if you have muscular imbalances, it's not like you need to stretch that tight side before you work out. You can, but we don't need to have this like hyperfixation on muscular imbalance. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree because most people aren't going to care, and unless it does cause like pain. When pain enters the equation, though, the step to undo that may take months. Heck, and it can even take years because the human body can endure a lot of bad movement quality before it starts saying, "Hey, something's wrong here." So to kind of keep going down this road, I don't think you should be hyper focused on it, but you should definitely spend some time, especially in your warm-ups. That is the go-to time to address some of these areas of imbalances. Again, tight pecs, tight thoracic spine or mid-back, tight low backs, tight hip flexors, tight calves. I believe, seriously, every human being has, quote-unquote, tight of these muscles. And so do yourself a favor, and I wouldn't even necessarily try to fix these on weightlifting days. Like you can try to do them. I shouldn't say weightlifting, I say strength training days. I should say that, yes, spend some time on the warm-ups, but really dive deep on non-workout days. Like as a mobility workout, that is where your big ticket to fix those things are. As a trainer, I am hyper fixated on all clients' imbalances, but for the average person, no, I don't think you need to be.
Yeah, I just have a lot of clients who are like, "Oh, my left arm is so much weaker than my right," or not even so much, just like, "Oh, I noticed my quad on my left side is looser than my right side." And I'm always like, "Yeah, that's normal. Like that's pretty normal. Like you can look at lifestyle things. Are you standing towards one side or the other or whatever?" It's like let's just note it. It only really becomes a problem when we're having pain and limitation. That's because of it.
You know what's fascinating though
Tell me.
is there's this and to your point, everybody has an asymmetry. There's this big certifying body, Postural Restoration Institute. Okay, my good buddy Craig is a physical therapist, and the diaphragm and the organs, okay, are all more so like the diaphragm. It's like this big dome muscle. You love the diaphragm, D.
I do.
It's a dome, and it's more prominent on the right side. Your liver, most of your organs are weighing yourself down on the right side. So every human being is structurally already contracted to the right and a little bit internally rotated. And so the patients he sees, and I had some lower back pain. When I went to him, he gave me 2 exercises that dealt with just breathing and resetting my left side. And I can't tell you the wonders it fixed. So check it out. Check out PRI if you're listening. And especially if you're in pain, and ask your local clinician or whoever you go to, chiro, athletic trainer, physio, ask them about PRI. But everyone walks around with that asymmetry. And there's even, I'll take an extreme example, like a baseball pitcher, right? We'd have pitchers all the time. They're going to have asymmetries. Like their pitching shoulder is going to be dominant. And even if you try to repair that left side or that other non-dominant side, their performance may even go down. So it's a very fine line you have to walk, especially in that setting.
That is such a good point. The body was created with asymmetry. I mean, just look at your face. Nobody's face is perfectly symmetrical. I'm constantly like, man, I basically have 2 different faces.
The the muscle imbalances are for real until like that's just the thing though, is people aren't going to care about, oh, I don't care if I'm, until then they have pain. And then they go on this path to fix stuff, and then they start caring. But then as soon as they're out of pain, it's gone. Like they don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like let that be a lesson to at least do 1 or 2 mobility drills to keep that at bay. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point. It's like not that big of a deal, but you still have to pay attention and you still want to try to like do your mobility exercises and things like that. Like I just love a bird dog. I will put a bird dog before any workout and as a warm up, and even in between sets, which is when you're on hands and knees and you're alternating lifting opposite arm and leg. It's just so good for the core and so good for the back and hips, and it feels so nice. So just like throw in the mobility, and I think that's like a good preventative tool to bigger problems for asymmetry. But trying to rid your body of asymmetry is like just so unrealistic.
We should break down the bird dog real quick.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, you know what I love? A row dog.
Oh no, I hate the road dog.
Wait,
You might as well do
why?
that. Don't do it on the ground. Do it on a bench. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. Do it on the bench.
And
Yeah.
the reason why is because when you row, your scapula can protract and you can reach a little bit better. But if you're doing a bird dog, so you're on your hands and knees, all fours position, and you simply take your right arm and reach out in front of you, and then your left leg back. But what I want you guys to do is make a fist with that right arm or whatever arm you're reaching with, and really act like you're punching that wall in front of you. And then that back leg, whatever leg you're kicking, your opposite leg, you should drive that heel to that wall. So you get this actually tension. Don't just hang out there, because you're teaching your brain to connect the dots between opposite limbs. If you want to make it a little harder, what I want you guys to do is walk your hands together. So go back to your all four position, bring your hands together and then your knees together. So it's a little bit tighter, or you can even get on a balance board, like a 2x4, and do the same thing. And you'll find it's drastically different. Now you're getting all kinds of sensory information. And then if you want to make it even harder than that, then lift that, whatever toe is down, lift that foot up. So if my right arm's out, punching, my left leg's back, kicking, then my right toe is actually down. So I'm going to lift that toe up and then fight to balance. Very hard to explain this over the podcast, but yeah, the bird dog is amazing. Shout out Stu McGill, part of his big three.
I think you did a great job explaining that. Another tip I have for bird dog, this is a fun episode about bird dogs, is try to keep your hips tucked under. Like, in other words, you don't want to have a huge arch, or sorry, huge, what is that called? When the back's
Arch.
not round, the opposite of round, an arch. You don't want to have a huge arch in your back, like as you lift your leg up. It's not like you're trying to get your leg the highest you can get it by arching your back. You're trying to elevate it as much as you can without arching your back to activate the glute. So that's another little tip, is try to keep the hips kind of tucked under a bit.
A great feedback tool is put a foam roller on your low back, or have someone put it there. I used to do glasses of water. Stupid trainer. Anyways, put that foam roller on your low back before you lift an arm or leg. And that's going to be your coach. That's going to be the best coach you're ever going to have, because if you go too much arch, you'll feel it. If you go too much round, it'll roll off. So I think we did it, D. I think we beat the dead horse with the stretching thing.
Yeah, so TLDR, you can stretch before your workout. It's probably fine. Just don't overdo it.
If you're super obsessed, then the muscle group you stretch out, do that on like, let's say you're going after your hip flexors, poor psoas, then stretch them out on a upper body day,
Great idea. Or like after. Or after.
Yeah, or after.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you go have a great workout, and let us know. Do you stretch? Do you not? We want to hear from you.
As always, check out the show description, folks. That's where you can get 2 weeks free. Get matched with a personal trainer. Try us for free. And we love you. Give us a good 5-star review.